as you know, is titled The Truth About Halloween. I see a very young audience here. I'll try and make sure that I keep it you know when you have a film, it says you, suitable for all, not too high in terms of parental, above 15, and then you got 18, meaning it's not going to be too scary, because I don't want you to be too scared. So I'm going to make sure that it's something that you go away with when it comes to knowledge and understanding the truth behind these things, but at the same time making sure you don't get scared. These are some of the objectives behind these Halloween and these things to do with this jinnat and the sorcery and the magic and the ghosts. All these things to leave a lasting impression on you that you are inferior and the world of the shayateen and everything is superior. Whereas in Islam, we are told we are superior. Bani Adam is superior, and the world and the realm of the jinn and anything else is below us. So that's a very important point to remember. So October the 31st, many people across the world, especially the Western world, will be celebrating or will be participating in a night where they'll be wearing these weird and wonderful costumes, trying to impersonate Dracula and vampire and Frankenstein and demons and all this kind of stuff you'll see. And it's nothing new. This has been going on for many years. And what they're trying to do is they are trying to depict evil spirits and ghosts and all these kind of things. So today's lecture will be about going down into this world of Halloween and unpacking it for you and presenting it to you, so that you can walk away from here understanding what is this Halloween, why is it celebrated, what are the origins of Halloween. Before I go any further, it's important, before we go any further when it comes to the core of finding out what Halloween is, it's important to look at the whole talk from three key themes that I have pulled together to form the foundation of this talk. There's three key themes. You have to understand these themes and then we'll go into Halloween. The first key theme is preserving your Islamic identity. That's a very important key theme. The second theme is avoiding imitation. Making sure you are so grounded in your faith that you avoid imitation of what others are doing, especially when it contradicts your faith. When it goes against your core beliefs and your core values, and it goes against monotheism, it goes against Tawheed, it goes against the Risala of our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the message that he brought. That's the second. And the third one is, the key theme is understanding the promotion of pagan beliefs. Halloween is not just something for fun and entertainment. There are real, shocking, evil practices that are deep-rooted, that are linked to paganism, that are linked to sorcery, that are linked to witchcraft, that are linked to evil spirits. All these things we will understand and look at in further detail. So remember, you're looking at it from three key themes. The first one is preserving Islamic identity. Second is avoiding imitation. And third is to understand that there is a promotion of pagan beliefs in Halloween. Okay? So when we look at the first one, the preserving Islamic identity, remember, we have a clear line. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us not to cross this line, especially when it comes to non-Muslims. Lakum dinukum waliyadeen. You have your religion, we have our religion. You have your way of life, we have our way of life. We can't take 2 days of yours and you take 3 days of ours, mix and change. This is your way and this is our way. It's a very important point to understand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fi silmi kafa. Or you who believe, enter into Islam wholeheartedly. This is part of preserving your identity. Don't take bits and bobs and say, I like this in Islam, but I don't like this. I want to leave this out. No, Allah is saying, enter 100%. You can't pick and choose. So submit to Islam in order to preserve your identity. And you find that with Halloween, how does it contradict your identity? Like I mentioned before, Halloween is deeply rooted in pagan festivals and non-Islamic traditions, which we will obviously look at further on as the talk progresses. So this directly impacts your identity, Islamic identity. The second is the imitation, avoiding the imitation. Man tashabbaha biqawmi fahuwa minhum. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has mentioned, Man tashabbaha biqawmi fahuwa minhum. Whoever imitates a qawm, then they are from them. And the ulama mentioned, this doesn't mean the clothes that you wear. If you wear jeans and trousers and you are, no. It means those things, those morals, those principles that go against the teachings of Islam. Anything immoral, any belief or practice that contradicts Islam, you have to avoid it, no matter how pleasing it looks, no matter how enticing it looks, no matter how great it looks, you have to avoid this. And that is why also alongside this, it's important to see who your company is. Because I've seen many people, especially university. You start off as a Muslim. You hang around with non-Muslims. So you're not in your eye socks or you're not in your Islamic societies. You start hanging around with non-Muslims. You start taking on their ideas. You start imitating them. Then next thing you know, you have a phone call to say, Hussein has left the deen of Islam. He doesn't believe, he believes in science now. He believes in X, Y, Z. That is why our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Ar-rajulu ala dini khalilihi. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدَكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلُ. A man is on the religion of his friends, so make sure you look as to who you take as your friends. Which company are you keeping? Are you going to be going out with people who are going to be celebrating Halloween? Or are you going to be with the people who understand after today's talk and say, you know what, Halloween is against everything that Islam stands for. You go and do it if you want. I don't want nothing to do with this. So that's the second point, avoiding imitation. And again, part of the second point, our Nabi predicted this. You know, sometimes you see certain things that are to do with imitation of things that are not to do with Islam. Our Nabi told us this. He said, you will follow the way of the Yahud and the Nasara, handspan by handspan, foot by foot. Even if they were to go into the hole of a lizard, you would try and imitate them. Even though that's impossible, you cannot physically go into the hole of a lizard, but you will be there trying, looking all foolish. And isn't that what some of the Muslim Ummah has become? Foolish by some of the rituals that we participate in nowadays. Trying to be like the West, or trying to be like people who have their values do not align with Islam. Look at the weddings, for example. Who would have known that within 10 years you have like dance-offs and you have people who are like belly dancers going in and all in the name of entertainment, going through the rows. Everyone's supposed to watch this. A man and a woman walk in. Husband and wife, the husband kisses the wife on the forehead. All of these are traditions from the non-Muslims that we have adopted. The DJs there playing away. This is what we've, and this is what our Nabi said, sallallahu. You will follow these people, the Yahud and the Nasara. And the third one is promoting pagan beliefs. We will get to know this. I will start it in 4 or 5 minutes. We will go deep now into the origins. But this has a lot to do with magic, sorcery, witchcraft, sacrificing for spirits and leaving things out for the shayateen. This is kufr. You know, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested the people of Babylon with Harut and Marut, 2 angels that came down and they did magic. Magic that could separate man and woman. Magic that could do certain things. And the Yahud began to believe when Sulaiman alayhi salam passed away, they thought he was a sorcerer, he was a sahir. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. And part of it is a lengthy ayah, but I will talk about the relevant part. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا. Sulaiman alayhi salam didn't do kufr, it was the shayateen. يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. They taught mankind sihr as a test from Allah. So Allah is saying that Sulaiman alayhi salam is exempt. He didn't do what? Kufr. It's not bid'ah. It's not haram. It's kufr. Sihr, sahir, sorcery, witchcraft, all this kind of stuff, you're treading down a dangerous path, which is to do with sorcery, magic, and it leads to kufr. And also the evil that's linked to all this Halloween, the darkness, going out at night time, knocking on the door, trick or treat. And when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in an authentic narration collected by Imam Muslim, Imam Bukhari, he sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us the importance of keeping the youngsters in after Maghrib. There's a certain time. Don't allow your children to go out. This is where the shayateen are. This is the time. They come out. Cover your vessels. Close your windows. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is saying this. And yet you will have people on the 31st of October dressed up as ghosts, going out and knocking on the doors. Is this not like asking for it? Are you not waiting to be possessed by the shayateen? When the best in creation, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is warning people to keep their youngsters indoors after Maghrib when it gets dark. Cover your utensils, close your doors. Yet we, or people who follow this tradition, will be sending their youngsters out, and they'll be dressed with, and they'll have all their faces painted in looking like Dracula and vampire and Frankenstein, and they think they're doing something good. وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ. Surah Al-Falaq. Allah is saying the evil from the darkness when it befalls. The darkness. There's evil in darkness. You can feel when it's darkness, there's a different kind of feeling in the air. Morning is the opposite. There's a bit more barakah in the morning. In the night time, it's when all the shayateen come out. So this is something I just wanted to begin the talk with. Those three kind of qawaid, principles, that make sure it's preserve your identity, no imitation, and also Halloween promotes pagan beliefs and all these kind of things. And this is something we're going to look at now. So, again, from a Quran and Sunnah perspective, there's nothing about Halloween directly. Like to say, our Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam warned us and he said this, nothing. But you find historical accounts, because it was a pagan festival, which was done by it was like the Celtic or Celtic kind of northern Europe festival to commemorate or celebrate a god that they called Samhain. Samhain was a god who was the god of death, according to the pagans. And the 31st October was for them the last day of the year. You know how we have New Year's Eve? Their first day began on the 1st of November. 31st of October was the last day. And this, according to these people who practiced this for over 2,000 years, they said that this was the day when the dead would come back to life. And they would come, and they would come for the people who they had an axe to grind with. Anyone who they had beef with. Anyone who was an enemy. They would come out and they would come to get them. You see how they're trying to inculcate into your hearts the strength, so-called, of shayateen, and they're going to come and get you. And this is what inspires Hollywood nowadays with all the films like Poltergeist, Exorcist, and all these. You know, you have grown men jumping up and saying, leave the light on, or, make sure you don't switch the light off, because it breeds the fear of the unknown and the supernatural and the ghosts and the shayateen. And like I mentioned, Islam is the opposite. They fear us. When you are on Tawheed, when you have your adhkar, and you are a person who prays 5 times a day, the shayateen run. But the way the films are they conditioned it inside you that you are scared. So going back to the point that this marked the end of the year for them, the pagans, and they believed that the shayateen or the dead souls would come out and they would look for revenge. So, where did the costumes come from? The costumes came as a result of people thinking that if I wear a certain costume, then these spirits will not know it's me. So let me wear a costume to evade my capture or the revenge that they're going to do on me. So some would wear certain costumes and some would light bonfires, and some would do this, X, Y, and Z to try and make the spirit, when the spirit comes back, to say, oh, that's not him, because he's got he looks like a witch. And he looks like this and she looks like this. So this is the whole world of pagan beliefs, It's just so strange, isn't it? I mean, imagine how people lived. And this is why Islam came to take people out of the depth of ignorance and jahiliyyah to the beauty of Tawheed. Understanding who Allah is, this beautiful system of Islam, which helps you understand who your Creator is, and you actually begin to live a life that makes sense, that's logical. It's not based on, the shayateen will come, or the people who have died, their souls will come back. So disguise yourself, wear something, look like something else. So this is where they came from, this kind of thing. Some would wear animal skins to disguise themselves. Some would do this. This is how that happened. And then how did it transform to Halloween? Halloween, according to the research that I did, this whole celebration of Samhain blended into Halloween when it came into contact with Christianity. When Christianity, when it came into contact with this kind of belief, the church designated November the 1st as All Saints' Day, or they called it All Hallows. So what comes before the 1st of November? The 31st of October. And the night before became known as All Hallows Eve, which then became Halloween. So the Christians came and they kind of shortened it to Halloween, from All Hallows Eve to Halloween. And they kept these superstitions and they kept these practices that were linked to paganism, and they continued with this, such as the fear of ghosts and the use of costumes to ward off all the evil spirits. And again, look, Christianity in its essence, when Allah sent Isa alayhi salam, it was a monotheistic religion, but look how it evolved into something where they easily take on pagan festivals. So we have to be very thankful that Allah has given us Islam, and we are holding on to the Quran and Sunnah, because we could also slip as well. Like some people are within the Muslim community, some people are actually indulging in these practices. And they're saying, what's wrong with this? There's nothing wrong with it. But I've given you the evidence of the origin of this Samhain, and he was the god of the dead, and how it traces its origins back to the ghosts coming back, hide yourselves, and in fact even sacrifice animals as well to ward off the evil spirits. All of these things were taking place with the Celtic community, and then it evolved into Halloween. So that's basically the history. So what's the relevance today? One thing that we know is that it's become very commercialized. Okay, so it's a $1 million industry across the world, Western world. So you'll start seeing the costumes, you'll start seeing different posters, and shopping malls will have a Halloween theme. So inadvertently they are promoting these kind of things, even though it again contradicts Tawheed, monotheism, and it's got elements of pagan practices, etc. at its heart, at the beginning of it. So we have to understand these things. I'm going to also talk about certain games that people do, thinking, they're all innocent. Yeah? Let's look at the first one, for example, trick or treat. Who knows about trick or treat? Yeah, obviously everyone knows about trick or treat. This is something that's very common during this particular part of the year, Halloween, trick or treat. But do you know what the origins are of trick or treat again? It's not nothing innocent like people make out. What's wrong with knocking on the door and they give you food or they give you money or whatever? Well, if you take a step back to 2,000 years ago, when all these things started, trick or treat was a way where the people would leave offerings of food outside their homes to appease the wandering spirits that they felt were around. So please don't harm me, and you know what? I'll give you some food. And as a result of this, I hope that, if it's something that tickles your taste buds, and if you like the food, I hope that you don't come into my house and, And nowadays they put that pumpkin, as well, to ward off. Okay, and it's sad that today children dress up in costumes, they knock on doors asking for candy, trick or treat. When the origins were that people would leave, the pagan way was to leave food to say that the souls hopefully will not touch us. Subhanallah. On that point, unfortunately, there is even in the Muslim community, unfortunately, a bit of a tangent, but I think it's relevant, that some people believe that when you die, the souls come back on a Thursday and again put the food out on the table, do dua with the food. When we were kids, we try and participate and we get told off, don't. Because until we do dua over the food, then the soul, the deceased will eat, and then you can eat. Honestly, this is something which is common in the Indian subcontinent, Pakistan and these places. They got the rules come back, and then when somebody passes away, the 40th, food. We have no issue if you want to pray for the deceased. If you want to pray, you can pray every day after salah. Anytime you can pray for the deceased, you can give charity for the deceased. You can make a well, you can do umrah, hajj for the deceased, no problem. Even the Hanbali school of thought, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, they said you can even read Quran for the deceased, but you say, Allah, I don't want the reward, I want the reward to go to the deceased. They have their opinion. However, food, and to say they're going to come and they love kheer and alwa, and they love roti and whatever, and make sure you lay it out for the deceased. SubhanAllah, where does this stop? Why don't you also, if they're feeling hungry, the souls, then maybe they're feeling cold as well. In the winter, why don't you leave a nice jacket and some shoes? And in the summer, leave some nice flip-flops. It's strange. In the realm of the barzakh, there's only two options. If you are a good soul, you are being given provision in your grave. There's no going out to wander and eat whatever, because you are getting your nourishment. You don't need the semia and the alwa and whatever. You are getting the, And if you are a bad soul, may Allah protect all of us, the angels are not going to say, we're going to punish you. Oh, it's Thursday. Go for your picnic. You can't leave the grave. So these are the only two options. But sadly, many Muslims, they follow this tradition. And you can see how also other people like the pagans, they used to rely on this leaving food out for the souls. Okay? The second thing is, who's heard of bobbing for apples? That's another thing, that's a Halloween game that they do. And again, this game is often associated with Halloween. And basically what it means is you get a barrel of water and you put apples and they float on and you tie your hands. I think you blindfold and you try and grab with your mouth and bite an apple. And this, according to the research I've done, this is it's like a Roman tradition that's celebrated with the goddess of fruit. Her name was Pomona, and orchards, which kind of blended later on with the Celtic festival of Samhain. So this is again shirkiya kind of stuff. That this was something that they do, and the apple was a symbol of fertility. Okay? And young unmarried people would try to bite an apple floating in the water with the belief that the first to succeed would be the next to marry. So it's almost like gambling or looking for good fortune and, playing all these games. Biting an apple, and if you bite the apple, you're going to get married now, aren't you? Great, the gods are happy with you, especially this goddess. Her name is Pomona, according to their pagan festival. So again, shirk. But how many people do you know who will be doing this during Halloween? They'll be playing these games. What's wrong? It's only a bit of fun. But look at the origins. Look where it evolved from. It's a very important point. And again, in Islam, the mushriks were the same. In the times of Jahiliyyah, they would like arrow. Oh, it hasn't hit its target. I don't think I'm going to have a good day today. Superstitious beliefs that had nothing to do with Islam. They had no tawakkul in Allah. They used to rely on chance and good luck. And if you see a few crows, oh my God, that's a sign of bad luck. Black cat runs across, oh my, I'm going to have a bad day. These are all superstitious, hocus pocus stuff. That has nothing to do with reliance on Allah. Whatever Allah wills, nothing can change it. No crows, no arrow shooting. This is all things that are against Tawheed. Another thing that's normally done is a lot of stories come out this time of the year to do with haunted houses and ghost stories. And again, these activities or this kind of theme are based on that ancient belief that I mentioned before, that the spirits of the dead, they come out and they return to the world of the living, and they are looking on Halloween night, and they are looking for people. Spooky settings and all these kind of ghost stories emerge during that time, subhanAllah. And guess what happens over time? Your heart begins to get weaker. So once you have this setting around a candlelit dinner, and you're talking about ghosts, and the plates were going flying and we couldn't see anyone, and there's blood splattered on the wall, all this hocus pocus, what happens? It leaves an impression in your hearts, and then you start fearing the shayateen and the jinn more than Allah, even though they fear you more. Okay? So this is all about the spirits and the supernatural and all this kind of ghostbusters and demons and jinnat and all this kind of stuff. And this is something that they want to try and promote. So, just staying on this point before I go to the fourth point. When I used to be at Green Lane 10 odd years ago, we used to get a lot of people calling for ruqyah, because we never used to charge, and we used to try and get people to go away from these babis who used to give ta'weez. We'll read over you Quran. Me and Brother Asghar used to go to people's houses. We had time during that time. We spent about 6 months to a year, and we used to go. And a lot of the cases were people who were possessed. Some of them were mental health, and we would say, look, go and see a doctor. I don't think there's anything. But some were possessions. People who were possessed by evil spirits. And when you start to dabble in Halloween and costumes, and you start going out in the night time, when our Nabi warned us about keeping the youngsters in, you are kind of asking to be possessed. You are asking to be possessed. These things exist. And your level of iman depends, is the defining factor, determining factor to see whether or not you are going to get possessed or not. If you have no link with Allah, you don't pray, you don't do your adhkar, you are easy prey. Easy. However, if you are a person who prays 5 times a day, you read Mu'adhatain, Falaq, Surah Al-Nas, Falaq, you read Surah Ikhlas, you blow on yourself before you go outside the house, you do all the adhkar, then you are protected. But how many of the youngsters do this? Then later on we get calls from parents saying, my son's a bit weird. All of a sudden he doesn't come out of his room. He never puts the lights on. It's all dark in his room. He sleeps and sleeps and sleeps. And he makes weird noises in the night. Like he's screaming, and like he wakes up, there's a dog chasing me, I saw a black snake in my dream, and what happened? And you trace it back to these kind of things. Dabbling in these kind of things. Supernatural activity. They do exist, guys. These things exist, so keep yourself protected. The final point is this costume wearing. Don't think it's again. What's wrong with wearing a costume? What's wrong with looking like Joker from Batman? But with more blood on my face and Frankenstein and whatever. What's wrong with that? Again, what was the origins of this? People used to wear animal skins and costumes to disguise themselves from the spirits that they perceived that they were going to come and get them. And the idea was to wear a disguise so that it would confuse the spirits. They would say, okay, that's not Waseem. I'm going to go, that's not him. So you disguise yourself to avoid harm. And again, we're promoting something that has its roots going back 2,000 years with pagan beliefs. Now this is something, again, we need to understand. So all in all, I didn't want to make this too long. Didn't want to scare you. But now you understand that from an Islamic perspective, it's important to hold on to your beliefs, because this Halloween, it definitely has its origins linked to pagan activity, to do with the god of death, and to do with so-called spirits coming back from the dead to get you. And then people used to wear these costumes to try and defend themselves. Then it kind of evolved into, when it came into contact with Christianity, it evolved into Halloween. And then you have all these other things, knocking on the doors, trick or treat and all this. Remember the origins, always important. Because if we don't keep educating ourselves, and there's no one to tell you this, you may think it's something simple, there's no harm in that, and then you watch the next generation. They're going to get worse. They're going to say, what's wrong with putting a Ouija board here and playing about with the Ouija board? Do you know what a Ouija board is? When you try and connect with the spirits, those who are dead. People think it's the dead, but it's spirits. The world, the realm of the Jinn. And they will come. But then you're going to get possessed. Because the Jins do exist. But the Jins want you to do something like a sacrifice, like something which is of kufr nature sometimes. I want you to sacrifice a black rooster in the name of this, throw it there, and then I'll be your friend or whatever. These things happen. But then that person's finished. The jinn wrecks that person's life. These things actually happen. So Islamically, it's important to stay away from these kind of things. We have so much evidence from the Quran and Sunnah that jinns exist, especially the shayateen. Our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is praying salah once, Sahih Muslim, the hadith in Sahih Muslim. And the companions are right behind him. And during the prayer, he grabs, it's like he's holding something and he's like wrestling with something with his hand like this. When he finishes the prayer, the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, they're thinking, is this like a news, this like, a way to, is this part of the prayer? What is this? Is this something new? Ya Rasulullah, what did you do? And then our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, today, Shaitan was so upset. He felt so demoralized with the way I'm preaching and bringing people to Islam. He sent one of his big ifrit, demons. And he came with the ball of fire. He came towards me. And I grabbed him from his neck. And his tongue was on the back of my hand. Had it not been the dua of my brother Sulaiman alayhi salam, which was, oh Allah, make sure you give me a kingdom that you give no one else after me. And that dua was accepted, so Allah gave him the control of the jinn and the wind, and he could converse with the animals. He had amazing powers that were gifted to him by Allah. So our Nabi is saying, had I been able to control him, I would have tied him up to the pillar, the sutoon, and I would have made the young children of Medina get slippers and whack him. But I couldn't control. You can't control jinn. So all these so-called saints and miracle workers and charlatans who say we can control jinn. No, they are being controlled. They are working with the jinn. The jinn is making them do weird things. Go to a lonely place in a forest, sit in a circle for a week. People do crazy things. They call it chilla in our language. You see, it's very common in the Indian subcontinent. And then they say that we have connection with the jinn. No, the jinn is using you. So I want to conclude, guys, by saying that these days that are turning up now, don't consider them to be special. They're just normal days. And I've told you the roots are to do with shirk and pagan and the souls of the dead so-called coming back. They don't come back. No souls come back. The realm of the barzakh. Barzakh means barrier's gone up. You can't come back. It's a different dimension. It's a different world. You can't come back and forth. And this is something that has been glamorized, commercialized, and you are seeing this. And you have to remember 3 things. Preserve your Islamic identity, avoid imitation, and remember Halloween is at the heart of it, promoting pagan beliefs, witchcraft, sorcery, souls come back from the dead, and X, Y, and Z. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to understand these things, to hold on to our identity, and to make sure that we are able to educate other people. Jazakumullah khairan. I'm just going to ask 3 questions. Jazakallah khair. Oh, we have the treats. I felt quite bad that I forgot the treats. So we have 3 questions. 5 questions. I don't think I'll have 5 questions, but anyway, I'll yeah, I can squeeze out 5. I've thought of something. I have 3 questions. 2 other things I will do. You have a question? Okay.
So, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Jazakallah khair for putting this event on. It's really necessary. Couple of questions. First is, when children do knock on the door, as they will, children are cooking, what's the best way to deal with that situation in a polite way, And the second question is, around this time there's going to be a lot of fireworks being put on different places. Going to these places to just view the fireworks. What's your advice on to the youngsters to not get too excited about
Okay, Jazakallah khair.
being part of that?
So the question the brother asked was, when you do get a knock on the door and you see obviously non-Muslim kids knocking on the door doing trick or treat, what's the response? And the second question went on to say that I think Guy Fawkes November bonfires night is approaching. There'll be a lot of fireworks. What do you do? Do you go and see them? Okay, 2 separate questions. Let me answer the first one. The first one's quite simple. Happens to me. I live in Walsall. In an area you have non-Muslims knocking on the door. Don't open the door. After 30 seconds they move on. They are high on adrenaline. They are knocking on the door. They're getting money. They haven't got the patience to wait 5 minutes and say, they knock. No answer, knock, no answer. Come on, let's do the next one. That's it, khalas. Maximum 1 minute. You don't have to open the door. A lot of people, they've got cameras nowadays. A lot of people can go upstairs, they can see. So anyone knocks on the door and it's trick or treat, and you can even hear the excitement, you don't have to open the door. I mean, what's the point of opening the door? What are you going to preach? Haram, or you can't just be patient, and they'll move on and they're excited and it's fine. That's their way of doing things. And the second, I can't give you a fatwa in terms of bonfire night or going to fireworks. I haven't looked into it specifically now to answer that. But I know that's a separate thing. That's like something else that's celebrated. Guy Fawkes and bonfire, and he tried to blow up Parliament or something, and they do something like that. So I need to look into that more. If you're going past and you look at fireworks, is it haram? I'll have to look into that. Yeah? Jazakallah khair. To the youngsters. Yeah, I mean, I personally, so you tell youngsters who are non-Muslims to say, you say to them don't celebrate, or we don't? Oh, okay, we don't. Yeah, again, yeah, so that's another option. You can open the door and say, look, we don't celebrate Halloween. But sometimes the youngsters' emotional intelligence, how is that going to register with an 8-9-year-old? They're like, they might get scared. Is this confrontational? Even if you say in a nice way. So I just avoid that kind of, me personally, but that is another way of doing it. If you want to open the door in a nice way and say, look, we don't do Halloween. Okay, that's fine. But I just say, it's fine. After 1 minute, they will move on. Second, okay, so any other question before I ask questions? Yes?
So people in school, they learn about Halloween. What do they do? How do they avoid it? What do they do about it?
Sorry, what was the question again?
So people in school,
Hmm?
they learn about Halloween.
Yeah.
So what do they do to avoid it?
Okay, good question. So these kind of things, they kind of creep into the syllabus. Okay, so I'll repeat the question. A young man said that in schools, these kind of things are taught now. So what do you do? And unfortunately, this is one of the problems that we face in this country, that certain things like this, they will creep into the curriculum, same as RSE, same as LGBT. But I think this is lesser of the evils. If you inform your children, they'll just know about this. They don't have to participate in it, meaning that you go out and physically do it. You're just hearing something that this is something that is done in this country, etc. I mean, some people, they choose to take their children out. You know, I know of Jehovah's Witnesses who say, look, this contradicts our beliefs. It's paganism. We don't want our children to be taught. Depending on your school, you can ask your head teacher to say, look, these things, they diametrically oppose our views. You know, this is like pagan stuff. Is it possible to have my child not to sit in the Halloween classes if they're being taught? I think that's one way of doing it for the parents who are here. Okay. And if you understand the reality of Halloween now, even if they talk about it, it's fine. Just sit in the class, do your 40 minutes. But as long as deep down you know, it's all hocus pocus. It's got nothing to do with Islam. As long as you know. I think this is where we had a big problem in a certain Islamic country. When these things are not told by the ulama, the youngsters are in suspense. They're thinking, what's wrong with it? You don't keep saying Quran, Sunnah, Tawheed. But once you inform the youngsters the history, that it was something that was taking place 2,000 years, naturally you will build a resentment in your heart. But if you are not told this, with this detail, and all you're saying is haram, shirk, kufr, then they're watching on YouTube and Western videos, they're saying, we want it in our country now. It's too late then to change. And it's happening in certain countries. Because if the education was given like I'm giving and other people are to a younger audience, you automatically build resilience for this. You hate it. You think, oh God, what kind of stuff is this? But when you don't know about these things, and all you're told is you can't follow the kuffar, it's haram, they're saying, oh well, no, that doesn't really do it for me. But I'm sure if many people understood the origins of why there were masks and costumes, it's about the dead coming and trying to hide from the dead. Majority of the Muslims who are doing it now, trust me, I don't think they will do it. I don't think they will do it. Okay? My turn to ask questions then. Okay, so I began the talk by saying there's going to be 3 key themes that will form the foundation for this talk. Okay? So this is going to be my set of 3 questions. Firstly, what was the first key theme? There were 3 themes. Basically, my question is, I'm going to ask what was each theme. So even if you know the 3, meaning any order, can you give me one? Who can give me one? Sorry? Well done, mashallah. This is yours. I don't throw, you see. I like Mashallah. What's your name?
Musa.
Musa. Well done, mashallah. So Musa answered that correctly, avoiding imitation. Second, okay, you right at the back, yes. Yes. Not wearing the clothes, that could be part of avoiding imitation. Okay? Yeah. Sorry? Well done. So this is indirectly promotion of pagan beliefs. So that's a key theme there. Well done. MashaAllah. What's your name? Yusuf. MashaAllah. Well done. That's yours. Jazakallah khair. And the last one. Who wants to have a crack at the last one? Yes. MashaAllah. Well done. Come on. Excellent. MashaAllah. Preserving your Islamic identity. What's your name? Muhammad. MashaAllah. Give me a handshake. That's yours. Okay. Now I'm just looking. I have 2 sweets left. We'll try and wrap up in 2 minutes. I'm looking for 2 brave people to raise their hands and come to the front. I will give them the mic, and in 30 seconds explain to everyone what you've learnt. Just generally, just like an overview. So I've learned, it could be even one thing. Who's confident enough, and then you get one, and whoever is the last one, they will get the last one. Who wants to come to the front? If you don't want to use the mic, no problem. You can just stand here and say, today I have learned X, Y, and Z. Who wants to? Okay, mashallah, come on then. Well done. Let's have the first one. Okay, mashallah. We'll come to you in a second. Okay, mashallah. I think we've got two people, yeah? We've got one. When he finishes, we'll get you. Mashallah. Well done. What's your name?
Amir.
What's your name?
Amir.
Amir. Okay, do you want the mic or not the mic? Yeah?
Yeah, I'll do.
Go on, mashallah. You have the choice. You want this mic or the big mic? Just okay. Go on then. What have you learned today?
I've learned that preserving your Islamic identity is what you can use to avoid Halloween and the pagan origins that started, like how some people just started it so then they could keep away from like the spirits that could haunt them.
MashaAllah.
In the future.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well done. MashaAllah. Takbir. MashaAllah, that's yours. Well done. Fantastic. MashaAllah. Okay, and young man, your name is? Mustafa. Okay, let's have Mustafa. MashaAllah. Okay. Well done. Assalamu alaikum, Mustafa. What did you learn?
So today I learned.
Okay, tell me first, or you want to do it straight away? You don't want to tell me? Okay, he's going straight. I thought you might rehearse it, but he's going for it. Okay, bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So today, guys, I've learned about how to avoid Halloween and not to wear clothes and not to participate with your non-Muslim friends.
MashaAllah. Mustafa, here you go. MashaAllah. I think you got a khatib, guys. You know, for Jummah, I think next one, sign him up. MashaAllah, Mustafa. How old are you, Mustafa? 8 years of age. Look at that, MashaAllah. And this is the key, guys. This is the key. When you educate, inform at a young age, it leaves a lasting impression and you take that with you into adult life. If we don't talk about these issues, then we cannot use force on Muslims when they're older and say it's haram, haram. They don't know why it's haram. But once they have a lecture like this, then they know deep down it's got nothing to do with Islam and it violates the concept of Tawheed when it comes to pagan festivals. Have a safe journey back. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of you. Jazakumullah khairan wa assalamu alaikum.